Forget the male loneliness epidemic. There is a different epidemic that is affecting men in their 30s. I have seen an uptick in married men in their 30s who have been with their wives for 7 to 10 years, who entered into that marriage on the same page in terms of timeline for children. A lot of these couples froze embryos together. And then when the agreed upon timeline comes up, either, oh, this is the time when we are going to start trying for kids, or this is the age where we are actually going to implant these embryos. These men, these married men who have said that they wanted the same things as their wives, say either, one, I actually don't want kids, or two, I don't want kids with you. And now their wives or ex wives, who are also in their mid to late 30s, find themselves in a position where they may not be able to have kids like they always dreamed of. I have heard the same story, like mine, so many times. So, why is this happening, and why is it happening more often? I think it happens for two reasons. The first is that divorce is seen as not a big deal. 53% of marriages end in divorce. Everyone knows someone who's been divorced. People have grown up with divorce in their families. So I think that marriage no longer feels like the commitment it once did. Now that commitment is children. So I think a lot of guys are like, I want to get out of this situation before that big commitment, aka kids. Two, I think it's just impossible for men to fully understand the ticking clock that women have biologically. I remember when I was freezing embryos with my husband, I actually said to him, this is a bigger commitment to me than us getting married, because I am tying my fertility to you. And I think that as much as a man can say, yeah, I totally understand that, they just don't, because that's not their reality. They can have kids until they're 90 years old. And
I don't think it's an epidemic as we understand what epidemic actually means, but this is the series of things happening. I think it's not as widespread as she's making it out to be, but we have to understand some really factual things. One, understand when we talk about things from our personal point of view, we lose sight of what it means to the other person. We lose their reference point. So him saying, a man saying, "I don't want to have a baby with you," means that throughout the time that you guys had planned to do this thing, and now when it's time to actually probably make this thing happen, he's being real and honest with you and saying, there are things I saw here, or things that I did not like, or things that just never were addressed, and saying, yeah, this is not going to be a thing for me. It's not going to be a thing that I want to do. I don't want to tie myself to you eternally. That's a very real thing here, right? And this is, to dig on men in this place, where if we're not upfront and communicative about the issues as they come up, then when there is time for us to put up or shut up, and instead of putting up, we shut up. Yeah, that time, that time in between, we could have either fixed these issues or given her time to, hey, go off and find someone that can get you that's fine with having a babe with you in whatever terms or whatever outcomes you're looking to have. But in terms of where you lose the reference point for something she said, divorce isn't a big deal because it happens so often. It's a complete big deal to men. It's a complete big deal to men. And, this is not to say that she hasn't made great points. She has. There's divorce, there's marriage, but the higher commitment was always going to be children. It was always going to be children. Right? There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to get into. But so before we continue, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Still going strong. Uh, if you just seen this video, you listen to my voice now, then yeah, it was your notification bell. Whatever reason, it won't push new episodes to you. But dude, I post twice a day. Continue to do that. So to what she's saying, a lot of men get into relationships with women without realizing that they don't actually like them. And sometimes it's not a thing that happens overnight. It's not that we actually don't like you. We just learn over time, because we all have the facade that we put forward. And hopefully our facade is closer in line to who we are than who we're not. Then over time, things change with us. Personality change. We start taking each other for granted, or there's issues that happen that are no longer really addressed. This is from a man's point of view. A lot of times we just simply shut up and we deal with the thing. We think peace is quiet, and it's not really the case. There's never really been a lasting peace that was never fought for. be it politically, be it, militarily, be it financially. You have to go out and fight for your peace. I know it sounds like a contradictory thing, but you have to go out there. You can't just let it happen or think that the woman that you're with is just somehow going to bring you peace. No, you, like most things for men, you have to go out there and get it yourself. So I say that to say we deal with a lot of things silently, and by deal with, I mean we do not deal with. We simply let it fester. So now, you can almost envision it. Now it comes time where we're going to do the things that we talked about in terms of children, in terms of having this commitment. Um, and now it's time. He says, "No, I don't want to do this." Yeah, I'm kudos to him being real rather than having a baby with someone that you don't want to have a baby with. Um, but like I alluded to before, like I said before, you lose sight of your reference when we look at things purely from our point of view, and we don't have the ability to open up our worldview a little bit more. When you're telling your husband that as you're freezing these eggs, this is a bigger commitment than us getting married. Who wants to hear that as a man? Who wants to hear that? We understand. I understand that this is not this. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but when we constantly tell men about the ways in which they say things, you tone police them in how they say something, rather than as other more effective ways of getting messages across. You say something like that to a man, it gets him starting thinking. If we have this child that already feels subservient, already feel like a second class citizen in this marriage, in this house, what happens when this baby comes? Furthermore, when she's saying again to bring up the point about divorce, it's not that big of a deal. It is when now we have a child, now we're divorced, now you get primary custody, now I'm paying for the child, now I don't get to see the child anywhere near as I would like. These things go through men's heads, and your relationship probably doesn't exist in a vacuum. He's probably watching, he's seeing these things, he's seeing these things in media, he's hearing how some things are talked about and seeing how his rights as a father really wouldn't be respected. If the relationship was tenuous in any sort of part, any sort of the position there where he felt like he wasn't valued, you've got a great shot of him just saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to do this." That's just men really waking up. And even if you are in a relationship, that's still him him waking up and saying, "You know what? I don't mind. I'd rather go through the divorce now than go and have a child with you and bring the child into this relationship that really isn't hasn't been serving him for such a long time." And I'm making this assumption of that is the thought process, because why else? I can't see a reason why, if he wanted to have a child, right, then he suddenly changed. He didn't suddenly change his mind. What he probably didn't do is voice it properly. And I think a lot of men have been in those scenarios when you saw someone, you were with someone, and you can in the beginning foresee this golden future, this golden path with them, and then reality sets in. You have to remove the pedestal where you have them above, standing above you. You have to look them in the eye and see reality for what it is, and you realize this is a damaged person that I'm sitting against, I'm looking into, just like she's looking into a damaged person. And our crazies do not actually mesh. We're good for now, just the two of us. I can limp along, but bringing an actual child into this world together, that's not something he could abide. Men have been there. Some don't say anything. They simply go about the business. Some, on the other side, on the other foot, get women pregnant so they don't have anywhere to go. So they always have that lifeline with them. In this case, he's saying, I don't want that lifeline with you. I don't want to be internally connected to you. Once this is done, we're done. And we don't have to sit here and continue to engage with each other in any sort of fashion. Is it cruel at the end of the day? Yeah. When she said, I've tied my fertility to you, yeah, that's a big deal. There's probably a better way of going about doing that. It's probably a better way of maintaining a healthier relationship where once you guys can actually communicate about these changes as they come up. If he's starting to feel like, I don't think we would be good parents, I don't think you'd be a good mother, I don't think I'd be a good father, or we wouldn't be good parents together, or we just wouldn't, I don't see us making the distance. There's better ways to have those conversations before they become things that are set in stone. And as much as it's easy to call this some and I think this is very familiar how male loneliness epidemic terminology started. It was simply coined and put on men and said, "This is on men. This is for them to figure out. This is for them to deal with." Rather than this is an excellent opportunity to say, where did I misstep in the relationship? Where did I misstep? Because it took two of us to do this thing. Even if I feel like as if I've never changed, I missed something. At one point in time, we were in lockstep. Then suddenly we weren't. Where did I fall asleep at the wheel? What did I miss? That is an opportunity that I think she should take rather than trying to coin this or find another catchy phrase, say why men suddenly decide they don't want to have babies with their wives. I think this is an internal conversation, and get back with us and see what data you have. But even in her explanation, it invariably had to turn to being a male problem. Sure, him speaking up for himself is a problem if that's the way you want to take it. Rather than he had a child with you and just knew he had no intentions of being around. We condemn men that do that, but now it's also we should condemn men that do the opposite, that know this is not a thing for them, and say like, I we need to pull the brakes, put the brakes down right here. But listen, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. If you see videos on your screen right now, that means I'm doing my job. And of course, if you listen to my voice now after ranting for 11 and a half minutes, you probably should just go ahead and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.